welcome back to the second half of NEWSBREAK Live, and joining me tonight is Ellery Sanders, who is a fire prevention specialist here in the city of Torrance. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me over.
Today is 4th of July, and a lot of people will be enjoying the weather and, of course, have been out barbecuing. What are some basic safety tips that we can start off with, whether people are getting ready to go out and barbecue?
Well, as everybody's getting ready for this amazing 4th of July, the main safety tips, I always like to give a top three. Number one, always look out for your children. I know there's a lot of commotion, a lot of excitement. Everybody's around, so look for children and pets that surround. You always want to pay attention to them. Oh, the second thing that I would like to point out is when you get ready to barbecue, you always want to have either a fire extinguisher or some type of extinguishing agent right next to you and as close by as possible.
Okay, and when it comes to being aware of your surroundings, definitely knowing which kind of barbecue you're using is very important. So what are the most common types?
The top two types are the charcoal grills and also the propane grill.
Okay, and what's the difference between those, and what can people do to make sure they're ready before they even start cooking?
Of course, the main difference between propane and charcoal with propane grills is natural gas. So with a natural gas connection is with the connection of a hose and also a propane bottle. You want to check out for the safeties and look out for the instructions that the grill comes with. Now, in conjunction with the propane, there's also charcoal grills, and charcoal grills hold heat. You need to light them with a certain type of liquid agent, and you want to be safe while lighting that as well.
When it comes to the propane grill, how do you know if there is a leak?
The best way to find out that there's a leak, you have a small mixture of soap and water. You put that in a squirt bottle or even in a hose, and when you squirt the connection between the propane tank and also the hose connection, if you see bubbles, that means you have that means you actually have a leak. And by having that leak, turn all the equipment off and double check for a leak, and you also want to turn that into a professional.
So it's important to know what kind of grills you're using, what you're grilling beforehand, but what about never leaving your grill unattended? I know you kind of made a point to tell me about that. Is that something you frequently see?
Yes, throughout the years of the fire department responding to any type of barbecue or grilling emergencies, a lot of emergencies happen when the grill is left unattended.
Okay, and then you also mentioned keeping children out of harm's way.
That's correct.
Okay, what are some of the best locations to barbecue? Whether you're at a house or you're at an apartment building, places in Torrance, what are some recommendations?
Well, depending on the residence, if you're at a home, the best place to barbecue is outside of the house, and you could the grill could also be located in the backyard. So a different residential location, if you're in an apartment complex, you also want to go to a designated grilling area within your apartment complex. Just as I mentioned, don't have the grill inside of your resident area. You also want to stay away from eaves and even overhead trees that might be around you. So you want to keep a radius, most likely a 3-foot radius.
What about public areas in Torrance?
The best locations in public areas in Torrance are the parks. So there's designated areas within a park, most likely it's a grilling area. And you have open space. You're not surrounded about trees. The radius is already there for you.
When it comes to barbecue, what should people do to make sure it's working properly?
To make sure it's working properly, you always want to double check the instructions, especially for people that probably don't have as much as good of experience in barbecuing. You also want to check the instructions. And if you have to troubleshoot it and it doesn't work, once again, take it to a professional and make sure that somebody is there with you to help you attend to the grill and properly work with.
During this holiday, or is it just during the summertime, do you see more barbecue-related fires?
I have. Over time, with my experience, the most injuries in barbecue-related accidents are burn injuries, actually, or the accelerant of a fire might be too big, And there were cases that either elderly or children or even somebody that hasn't been attending to the grill that I mentioned earlier might be injured. So I always want to stress out the safety portions of paying attention on what you're doing.
Any other incidents that you've seen when it comes to barbecue related fires? I think that puts into perspective what people maybe do that's not right when they're barbecuing.
There has been an increase in grease fires. So because of grease fires, I once again, I want to stress out that whoever's cooking needs to have a fire extinguisher or even baking soda. If you don't have a fire extinguisher, baking soda is the next best extinguishing agent. But grease fires has been increasing, so we just need to pay attention to what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Do people tend to maybe put too much grease in the barbecue, or?
Mainly it's too much fuel. Okay. If it's for a charcoal grill, they might add a little bit too much fuel, or they might want to hurry up their cooking methods, and they want to increase the heat in a propane tank.
We're talking about barbecuing, but something that you can also do is when you're camping, campfire safety. It kind of goes hand in hand. What can you tell me about that when it comes to safety tips?
The first thing a person wants to do if they want to go out and camp, they need to just find out national parks. So if you go on the internet or if you look up where exactly are designated camp areas. Once again, just in conjunction with a radius, what we talked about with grilling, you also need a radius, 10 to 15 foot radius while camping and building a campfire. You also want a shovel and have either an extinguishing agent or a gallon of water right next to you. And
speaking of that, when you're done grilling or barbecuing, what steps should people take to make sure the fire is out? Yes, by using that shovel and using that gallon of water, you want to stir and extinguish any type of wood or any type of material that you actually used for that campfire. And as soon as you do that, you want to add more water and use that shovel again and stir just to double check that the fire is fully extinguished. And for viewers that are tuning in right now, if we can just discuss what are some top 3 tips that kind of go hand in hand with safety barbecue and campfire safety, you would say? The top three would be make sure you have an extinguishing agent with you. If you don't have an extinguishing agent, especially with campfires, you want to have a gallon of water. In grills, you don't want to use water. You actually want to use either that extinguishing agent, fire extinguisher, or baking soda. Always attend to what you're doing. Always pay attention and make sure you leave that grill and either campfire. Make sure somebody is right there watching and paying attention. And always look out for your children and pets. Great. And tonight is the big city celebration, the fireworks show. And even though fireworks are illegal in the city of Torrance, if people are going out to these shows, what should they know? What are some tips you can give them? The best way to enjoy any type of fireworks in a fireworks show is always go and just relax and pay attention to any professional display. However, people still use fire extinguishers and fireworks in celebration of the 4th of July. Pay attention to what you're doing. Treat a firework or any type of sparkle as an open flame or even a match. So a child should not be handling any type of fireworks. Make sure that it's a parent and they're paying attention on what they're doing. It's illegal, but people still do it. I'm sure you get many calls about it. Indeed. So what would you like to tell people about it? Once again, the city of Torrance is holding a fireworks and professional display. So I want to urge everybody within the radius of the city, even I want to encourage everybody outside the city, come and enjoy the fireworks show. You will not be disappointed. And a couple of points I know we discussed is using the long-handled grilling tools and making sure you're grilling away from vegetation. How important is that? That's very important. That goes back to any type of 911 calls that we've received to burn injuries and make sure that you have a certain distance between yourself and the flames that you're grilling with. Well, Ellery, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was definitely a pleasure. Perfect. Thank you for having me. Well, that does it for NewsBreak Live. For those viewers with an antenna, you may need to rescan your channel to view CitiCABLE on 25.2. If you have any news or video that you'd like to share, please email us at newsbreak@torranceca.gov. And for Facebook and Twitter users, use hashtag NewsBreakLive. Have a great night.